Welcome to Uptown Studios Live. I'm Tina Reynolds, and I'm thrilled to be here with Beth Hassett. I am your fangirl for a long time, and we kind of skip around, and I'm on the edge of the Beth Hassett circle. But I got to tell you, I look up to you so much, and the work that you do, and how you have built Weave into one of the leading organizations that's really creating change here in Sacramento. Welcome, Beth.
Thank you. What an introduction.
Yeah, well, I'm your fangirl, and everybody just needs to know that, because I think that you do an awesome job. And that's why you're here, because finally I could get you one-on-one.
Well, I appreciate it.
So I want to start by, tell me a little bit, how did you get into this? How did you, tell me your windy road that ended you up at CEO?
Well, you know, I started, I came in through the fundraising door back in the mid 90s, and really wanting to find a place that I could use that skill set to make the world fair and equitable for people, ensure that everybody has a safe place to go if they need help, and, you know, really wanting to do something that matters every single day. So I did the fundraising for Weave for 6 years, took a break and was on the board, and then came back in 2006. I had a lot of unfinished business to do, and I still do.
Yeah, and you're never gonna finish it all. What did you do before nonprofit work? Did you ever work for-profit companies?
Right out of college, I have a degree in finance. I worked in the title industry for a couple of years, and then
that's exciting.
I worked for a hot minute for Delta Airlines, and then I went to grad school in theater with the thought that I'd raise funds for the arts, and moved to Sacramento, and
ended up
at Capitol Public Radio first, and then came to Weave.
Well, you know, that's a good route to go. You know, it got you where you are, and we're going to keep you here. You have to stay. You can't leave. You can
love Sacramento.
Oh, good. So let's talk about COVID and how it's impacted Weave and the work that you've done. Tell me about like March 12th of last year. What happened?
March 12th, we had a retreat at the Sierra Health Foundation scheduled for our entire staff of more than 100 people for the next day. And one of our staff was worried that she was exposed to COVID. And we didn't even realize that a shutdown was on the horizon. But I said, you know what, we just can't do it. And so honestly, we sent everybody home that night and said, I don't know when you're coming back.
Yeah. I mean, it was the same thing for us. I sent everybody home and said, work on your home computers. We'll know more next week.
Yep.
And then next week it was, okay, come on, I'm going to have your business computers delivered to your homes. And then the week after that, it was, I'm going to send your desks and your chairs. And then it was like, okay, we're going to pay for your internet.
Right. I know. It was crazy. Yeah. And, you know, we were still trying to serve clients during all that.
So how did you juggle that? People really needing to come in, and did you open up a video conferencing? How did you maintain your connections with your clients?
Our first concern was our support and information line, because that's how most people get to us. So luckily we had invested in some really good phone technology. So we were able to use kind of a relay system and have people take calls from home. So that was the first thing. We stopped taking new people into our residential program because we have a large shelter. We have 125 beds of all of our residential, and we didn't want to introduce any new people into it. And we initially did legal and counseling services and case management over the phone until we found a platform called Doxy where we could, it's more like Zoom.
Okay. All right.
We launched our new service called Online Chat right away. We were poised to do it anyway, and we were going to test it. And we said, let's just get it out there. So that gives people an opportunity to chat live rather than having to make a voice call, which we felt would be very important for people who are housing in place with somebody abusive.
Oh yeah. Is that on your website?
Mm-hmm. Yep. It pops up if people want to chat.
Well, we'll show the website there it is, weaveinc.org. So they can just click on it and it's just a live chat.
An advocate is waiting for them and can chat with them.
Is it 24/7 or do you have hours for that?
It's mostly during the day, business hours, and into the evening. I mean, it just really depends on how well staffed we are.
Okay. Okay. So how about staff? Were you able to keep everybody employed?
We had to close our retail stores. We have 3 retail stores, and so we furloughed everybody. But then we got a PPP loan, so we were able to bring them back.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we only lost a couple of people, really. We laid 3 people off that weren't grant funded, and that like I didn't need an executive assistant because there was nothing to organize.
Well, damn, girl. You know what? I just love mine. It's like I can't get along without her. It is like she keeps my calendar, and it's like keeps me crazy. It's like don't forget potty breaks. Schedule it every once in a while.
Exactly.
And so how about you? You're working from home and from the office in and out?
A bit of a hybrid. I'm in the office right now, but we take turns coming in for those of us who could work at home. Like some of our staff have to be here. So it's been nice. I got a dog right before COVID, and so I've been bonding with.
You've been training the dog. That's perfect. I know our dog loves that. We're at home. Doesn't want us to go back. So how about testing, and is there any other impact from COVID that has affected you and your team and your clients?
We were able to get people vaccinated pretty early, just because they're on the front line, essential workers. Not everybody wanted to. So, that's people's choice, and we're not requiring it. We quarantine people for a couple of weeks when we bring them into our shelter, and so we've been really cautious. I mean, we've been lucky. Only one client got COVID, and that was somebody living in one of our apartments, so they were already
isolated. Wow, you are so lucky there. That is, I know, because some of the other shelters, it's not been good.
Right.
It goes and then it goes like wildfire. So good for you. Good for you. Well, now how about I really have heard that domestic violence during COVID because of isolation with bad partners has gone up. What have you seen there?
What we saw initially was that requests for service were down, although we knew that requests of law enforcement were up. But I wasn't surprised, because if somebody's trapped in an apartment or a house, I mean, unless you live in a palatial estate, it's hard to make a phone call, and it's hard to reach out for help. And we really saw during the recession that people were just too scared. It's like, I don't know if I'm gonna have a job. I need a roof over my head. I'm not gonna do anything. So we really saw things start to speed up in July. And at this point, requests for legal services has more than doubled. So that's people wanting a restraining order or to get a divorce or child custody issues. So now the demand is just snowballing. And
so they could only hang in there for so long. They were hoping that it was going to end. And then when it didn't, things got worse.
Well, and that's what we were hearing, is a lot of escalated violence. So even in relationships that maybe were just in that unhealthy range, they got abusive and dangerous. And we're very worried about the kids, because, reports to CPS are down by 25% across the board, just because the normal people who would be noticing child abuse, teachers, medical appointments, our advocates, they aren't seeing that. So
I totally didn't think of that. That makes such sense. I want to know about new projects, because I know that you are an innovator in your own right. And if you can make something happen, you make it happen. What's new and happening with Weave?
Well, I think one exciting new thing is that we are building 9 affordable housing units on a raw piece of land. We got funding from the Governor's Home Key program and a bunch of City Cares dollars. And we did a little bit of fundraising around it. So we'll have 9 manufactured homes on what we're calling Creekside Village, which is very lovely with heritage oak trees. We've got 4 of the units already there, placed this week. And so we'll hope to be moving people in by the middle of June, and it will be permanent supportive housing for people who've experienced domestic violence. So that is very exciting.
So how much does each house cost? What are the numbers that you're looking at? Because this sounds like something that you could do all over the city.
This one was more expensive than it could have been because the property is on a creek and we had to build retaining walls and do some infrastructure stuff.
Yeah.
They're about $250,000 a piece, all said and done.
Right.
But they come, they're 2-bedroom, 1 bath, then they come all ready to go. And it's great because we have clients in emergency shelter, in transitional shelter, plus we have 25 families out on Mather, where Next Move provides the housing piece and we provide all the supportive services. So we've got a lot of families who need somewhere to go next.
Yeah. And the next place to go. And it sounds like the supportive housing is like that's the grand ultimate end.
Yep.
That it is a nice home in a nice area in a safe environment.
Exactly.
And do you still provide services when they're in the homes? And is that what counseling and
whatever it's all of our services are voluntary. We never trade a roof over your head for services, but they'll continue to have a case manager helping them with their goals and, guiding them towards education or work or whatever it is they need. They can have therapeutic counseling if they want and access to our legal department if they need, to get a permanent restraining order or they have any other legal needs.
You do so much. So how big do you see that opportunity growing? I mean, just based on funding, right? It's like
funding and land and but and this is our first, dipping our toe into it. And so we'll see how it goes, but it's a grand experiment that I think is great for
very exciting. And during COVID, it's like you were getting people jobs to build the homes and getting people moved in. So you have 2 people that moved in, 2 houses?
No, the houses are there, but we still need to build the road and all kinds of stuff. So.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, you have to let me know when that happens and I'll help promote it.
Okay, thanks.
I think that's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for people in Sacramento. That's awesome. So what about other things? You've got the permanent supportive housing. What else?
I think 2 of the most exciting things to me are, forever and a day, agencies like Weave have counted how many people they served, but we haven't had a really effective way of knowing, are we changing their lives? Are they any better having been here with us? And so we got funding from 2 different sources to take something that's evidence-based in another area and adapt it with to be for victims of domestic violence in a residential setting. And then we're evaluating it, we're testing it. And both of them are for the non-abusive parent and for the children. So we're interrupting that cycle of violence and we're building resiliency in the families and bonds between the parent and the child. And so that they've both already been tested and work in the drug and alcohol setting where you've got people who were abusing substances and had lost that bond with their children because of it. So now we're just layering that domestic violence piece over it. And there are a lot of intersections of that anyway.
Yeah.
And one called Celebrating Families, the children go off with an advocate and they learn a lesson and the parent goes off with another advocate. Then they all come together and eat a meal together and practice what they learned. And again, it's a proven system that after 16 weeks, they really have just built that bond. The other is called Strengths Model Case Management, which is really looking at what do you bring to your life and what strengths do you have rather than kind of this deficit-based thing.
What you don't have, all those things that you don't have. It's like, I don't.
Exactly.
So it's finding all those do's.
So I'm just excited that we'll have something that can be replicated in shelters all over the country that we created here in Sacramento. And
that's great.
I know, it's exciting.
So you're testing the model now. And when did you enroll people? When did this start?
The strengths model we've been doing for a year now, and Celebrating Families, we're still adapting the curriculum. So we're going to start later this month in the first one. And we'd like to be able to bring people actually together to eat. That's been part of it.
You know what? Breaking bread is always a good way. If you sit around the table and you eat, you're going to talk.
Exactly.
Which is I think that's just a wonderful, wonderful way to do it. So do you bring in the food?
Yep.
You do? You're
It's
bringing the food.
federal funding, so you're not allowed to buy food with federal funds. So we got foundation funding to be able to buy the food. You know, the $15 muffin or whatever ruined.
Oh my God. It's like, that is just crazy. That's crazy whack when you know that that's what you need to do. But at least you found somebody else that could support it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm sure that you could get some of the restaurants to support it too.
I know. I think there's a lot of opportunity here to do something once things are back up.
Oh
and
yeah,
open.
back up and running. It's like,
that's been why we've been successful, is because we get a government grant, but then we supplement the program with fundraising and our retail money and foundation grants. I mean, I think if nonprofits are going to be successful in the future, they need that braided funding and looking at different sources of.
Absolutely. And collaborating with other nonprofits, collaborating with businesses. It's like, okay, let's get a call out there to Patrick at Mulvaney's, right? We've had enough martinis there that.
I mean, and speaking of collaboration, I think one other project that I'm excited about that started before COVID, but kept going, is we have funding to look at how multi-sector collaborations can prevent domestic violence, specifically in the Meadowview and Valley High neighborhoods with victims who are Black. So that's a very specific project that Blue Shield Foundation is funding, and we just got it renewed for another 2 years. And it's been amazing to bring all of these groups that serve those communities together and say, how can we do this better and more collaboratively?
So are you meeting like on a quarterly, monthly basis?
We were meeting every other month in person, and now we've been doing it virtually. But yeah, and we've done listening sessions, and yeah, it's been a great collaboration. And just, looking at, and now we're getting ready to listen to men and boys to talk about, what their experiences are that might lead them to be abusive or to be victims themselves.
Yeah. Yes. Right. Yeah. So when did that start? How long have you been meeting with all of the?
January of 2019. So luckily we had a whole year of, building trust and getting to know each other and, getting things going before COVID.
So you're meeting with like building healthy communities.
Our primary partners are the Rose Family Creative Empowerment Center and South Sac Christian, because they run the incubators down there as part of the Black Child Legacy work.
Okay.
We've got Kaiser's anti-violence team, Sacramento Children's Home, and we've been bringing in more like really grassroots organizations that serve the Black and African American community.
Oh, that's great. I do work with urban achievers, and have you heard of them?
No.
Okay, so they fill the gap for the kids that aren't getting the services that they need and the parents, and find out where those gaps are and then connect them with organizations. I'll introduce you to them.
Excellent.
They're doing some excellent work too. And it's specifically with the Black community.
Great.
So, meeting more people, doing more. So what did you do for fun over this COVID? Like, did you have any fun?
I got to know a lot of my neighbors because we moved to McKinley Village about 2 years before COVID. So it's been nice to have a walkable neighborhood and, spent a lot of time in camp chairs sitting 6 feet apart outdoors. Played with my pug, and we have a family cabin in Utah. So I usually go out there like for 1 week a year, and I was out there half the summer working remotely from the cabin. But
that's nice. Well, cabin with internet. So
no, cabin with hotspot.
Oh, cabin with hotspot. Yeah. So you didn't have. It's like you would probably freeze.
Yeah.
On occasion.
So that was good, and stayed close to home. Did some like day trips and did a little bit of staying in COVID hotels with no services. But,
Kate and I have a little RV, and we've gone on weekend trips. We went last weekend to Mendocino. Just so nice. It's so nice. And you can stay, isolated, but yet you can go for day hikes and see the beach and do all the things. Yeah. Yeah. And things are getting more and more open, It feels different. So what percentage of your team is vaccinated?
Last I heard from my HR director, about 60%.
Yeah.
And, some people have autoimmune things going
Yeah.
on or
Yeah.
reasons they can't, and some just aren't comfortable. I mean, we've done bad things to people of color in our
Right.
society, and not
Oh, yeah.
everybody trusts what we're telling them is safe to do now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm feeling
Well, with
respectful
more
of
and more
that.
numbers, more and more people, and fewer really bad effects from it, it's going to now it's in the slow grow, I
Right.
think. But wouldn't it be nice if we could get back to something of having people over and not worrying about 6 feet apart, not worrying about just having 4 people or 6 people,
Exactly.
right? It'll be nice to have events again, to have mixers and to be able to go, because I'm telling you, the events on Zoom with big numbers of people, it's like you sit and you stare at your computer screen, and that's,
Yeah.
we've gone to a couple of drag queen bingos
Oh,
right on Zoom, and it's just not the same.
no.
You know those. I've seen you at those.
Yep.
So that's, it'll be nice when all of that changes. So what about your future? Is it public about Weave, the name?
I mean, we're trying to make it public. Yeah. I mean,
Well, let's talk about that, because I think that that's a big deal.
Yeah, for a long time we've said we need to get rid of women escaping a violent environment. And to be honest, Tina, we have not publicly said those words for 15 years. But it's just so ingrained in people and the media.
I said it to you before we got on, and you went, "Oh, well."
And for a long time I was, to what end do we put all this energy into trying to reframe it? And then, as we really started doing some work inside Weave around racial equity and inclusion and diversity, I'm like, what? I feel like it's a barrier for some people getting help, because if you're not a woman or a cisgendered woman, where do you see yourself in Weave? And so a long time ago, they'd done a contest for what else could Weave stand for. And some 10-year-old boy said, when everyone acts, violence ends. And we just made the decision, you know what, we're going to do it. And we were going to do it last year, but then COVID happened. So we're going all in and really reframing. Plus, I like that it's less about these women having to escape, why they have to escape, and more about the role each of us can play in ending violence in our community, whether it's sexual violence or domestic violence or other types of violence. And we all have a role.
How do we all help? Right? It's like, how do you get more active participants when everyone acts?
Right.
Yes.
Well, and even the simple act of just acquainting yourself with what domestic violence might look like. Everybody pictures somebody getting punched, and more often than not, it's financial abuse, technological abuse, emotional abuse, and being able to recognize that in somebody that you meet or somebody that you know, and then responding to them and saying, hey, I'm here for you if you ever want resources, and referring them to Weave or another organization. I mean, that's powerful stuff that I think people take for granted. And when we stay silent and don't act, it just reinforces that the violence is okay and that there's nowhere to go.
Well, if you see something, say something. It's back.
Basically, it's that.
So what percentage, how many, let's just say women, we'll just talk about women that don't have any financial access. Is that a particular group of women that you see?
Almost every single person who ends up in our residential program has had financial abuse. And that can look like being put on an allowance, having your identity stolen. There's a lot of coercive debt where they signed documents and didn't realize they were agreeing to buy a car that they never got to drive. It can be being forced to work and then have all your money taken away, or not being allowed to work. So it is one of the most pervasive problems, and it's one of the biggest barriers for people who are trying to leave an abuser.
So finances. And do you have financial education that you help people with?
We do. We've got a whole client prosperity department that helps with, what's your next step in your education. We do clinics on on financial abuse and what that looks like and budgeting. We also have a ready to rent program that teaches you how to be a good tenant and how rent works. So we have a lot of resources for people. And, I got to tell you, back in the day before we built our nicer shelter, the average length of stay in emergency shelter was 11 days, forever, for years. And now the average stay is about 4 months. And that really gives somebody time, time to decompress. You're not just like worrying about the next thing and, what you're doing next. You can really settle in and work on some goals. And then in our transitional housing, people can stay for up to 2 years. So that's a spaciousness for people to focus on themselves and what they really want to do, and not be worrying about what somebody else is telling them to do.
Yeah, well, 4 months is a really decompression time, and you have a 24-hour number. I think we should run it across the screen.
Yes.
There it is. You have people that are answering the phone. So these are probably people that are working remotely because they're just on the phone, and you have secure lines and stuff.
Well, we have 2 people who work in our main office during the day, so they're actually here, and then 2 people who are embedded in the evening and then overnight out at our safe house. So so they're working on site, but then they can remotely send it. If the call volume's too high, we have advocates who are on, waiting to take calls.
Okay. So you really are. If they call that line, they're talking to a person.
Yes.
Which is so important because they may only have a few minutes to get the call in.
Exactly.
And help me.
Right. And then we have online chat if people go to our website, where it's the same kind of thing. The advocate's there, and then it should pop up when you go to our website. Do you want an online chat when it's available? And that way you can just do it silently. And some of those chats can last an hour because it's going back and forth, but that way.
Well, and you have to think of I can't talk, right? And but you could probably text somebody so they can text in. It's
a chat that people can do either on phone or computer, and but it looks like a text.
Okay, so you're typing your questions on the online.
But it's on a platform that's secure, so it's not staying on their phone. I mean, those are the kinds of safety things we have to think about. Is you don't want the person to pick up your phone and go, "Who are you talking to?" And so it
is like thinking of all those things that I don't even think of. So important, because if you're the person that's in the emergency situation, you really don't want people to be able to see what you're doing. I mean,
and the most dangerous time for anybody is when they're leaving. And that's why I get irritated when people say, why don't they just leave? Because leaving is a process, and it can take a long time to be in a place where you're safe and can leave and not get killed.
So, and you have to think of, there's probably children, and how do you be the mother hen and get all your chicks and out at the right time where it's safe. And
it's illegal to just move to another state with your children. That's the other thing that our legal team helps with. I mean, you can't just up and leave with somebody else's children. So there are a lot of legal things that people have to consider as well.
So you coordinate on helping people to coordinate their exit.
Yep.
So help make a plan.
Safety planning is a big part of it. Yep. And
so what do you find where people back out of the plan because of fear? How much does that happen?
It happens all the time, especially if the abusive partner gets a sense that it might be in the works. And that's when it can be, threatening to kill themselves or threatening to kill their partner, or, becoming more controlling. So, we always say you need to use your spidey senses when it's safe to leave, because, the survivor knows best what they should or shouldn't do.
What their situation is and how it's all going to go down. Yeah. So what can people do today to help you? I mean, I love what you do. I think that you're such an important asset to Sacramento. Thank you for your years and years of service, and don't ever leave. What can we do to help you?
Well, next week we're doing a purse and shoe drive for items that will go directly to our clients. We're setting them up with like a little store, and they can come and try them on. So participate in that. we always need items for our stores, especially small furniture and household goods. So
Ah,
that's always helpful.
in good repair.
Yes, in good
Things that are-
repair.
And what about the shoes and bags? Do they have to be new, or can
No,
they be? They can be lightly
gently
used.
Yep.
Okay, so how do they get the stuff to you?
They can bring it to our Arden Way store, which is on Arden, 2401 Arden Way, and we'll be all set up to accept them starting next week.
2401 Arden. Get your
Yep.
shoes and bags to them, and you can really help make a difference.
And backpacks too, because we have male clients. So.
Oh yeah, backpacks, sure.
Or man purses, whatever that is.
if you're dropping off a purse, put a positive message in there and
Yes.
wish them the best.
Yes.
I think that might be a nice way to give away something with a little personal note.
That's a great idea.
Beth, you're awesome. Thank you for joining me today. And everyone out there, our 30 minutes is done. It's just like blows by. I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 11 o'clock on Facebook Live. And Beth, all the best to you. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye-bye.